Welcome to Develop Yourself podcast where we teach you everything we need to land your first job as a software developer by developing yourself, developing your skills, your network, your habits, and more. I'm your host, Isaiah Hayslip, and today we're going to be talking.
Wait. Hey, this is my podcast, Isaiah. As my son Isaiah was saying, today we're going to be talking to Harsh Patel. Well, I'm going to be talking to Harsh Patel. My son is not going to be talking to him. Harsh is the former CEO of the popular Coding Bootcamp's Hack Reactor, and most recently he was CEO of Galvanize. So this episode's a bit different than the kind of interviews we normally do, as we're really diving into the inner workings of the Coding Bootcamp industry. And then we're closing things out by talking about Harsh's next project, which is a code school organized as a DAO. DAO stands for DAO, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's a crypto thing if you're not familiar, but essentially in his code school, they are training Web 2 engineers to become Web 3 developers. So stick around for the end of the episode. We're going to be talking all about that. Well, Harsh, thanks so much, man, for taking the time to do this. I know we talked a few weeks back and just kind of caught up. I'm going to real quickly give the backstory of how I know you for the listeners, because I think that's where I want to start with you, is kind of your journey into the code school space and then what you're doing beyond. So I went through my only code school experience back in, I don't know if it was 2012, 2013, whenever we were cohort 3. So MakerSquare hadn't been around.
Probably 13, maybe 14, but probably 13.
Okay.
It's got to be 13. Yeah, 13.
Yeah. And so at the time, I'd never heard of coding boot camps. I just knew that I hated my job and I had wanted to become a software engineer for a long time. I found MakerSquare in downtown Austin. And then I met you, obviously, because you started that whole thing.
Did you live in Austin before at the time, or did you move there? You did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to school. I went to St. Edwards. My wife went to UT, but yeah, I lived in Austin. I grew up in Houston. So I literally just picked the closest thing. I thought they were all the same thing. I saw Dev Bootcamp and I was like, oh, look, they've got one of those thingies here in Austin. So that's how I know you, Harsh. But like, what's your backstory? I mean, how did you get into, starting Coding Bootcamp? Because I would describe you as like one of the most prolific bootcamp CEOs, just because the track from MakerSquare, Hack Reactor, Galvanize, all that. But yeah, how did you get started with Maker? I don't even know that story.
Yeah, so it was, how did we get started? Well, it actually wasn't my idea, and I wasn't actually involved until a little bit later into it. But a friend of mine, Ravi, obviously you know Ravi, he was like, hey, I kind of want to be an engineer. Like, have you heard of these schools? Like, what do you think about them? And I was like, yeah, like, I can't speak for all of them, but like, they seem great. And I went through General Assembly's program way back in the day before it was like what it is today. And it wasn't actually built for people who wanted to become engineers. It was built for like people just perusing programming.
Like, so I was like, for non-programmers or something. I think.
Exactly. Like there was actually no outcome. It was more so just like an enrichment experience.
Yeah.
But the irony of it is like me and like several other people that were in the class were like, we're trying to be engineers. Like, we're looking for an outcome. And so it was just like a mismatch from like what our expectations were versus what the course was. So anyway, long story short, I was like, hey, like I went through half of one, you could call it. And then I just started teaching myself. And I got to a point where I feel like I could have interviewed and gotten a job. But I wanted to learn to code because I was working on a company where I was managing a team of engineers, but I couldn't write myself. And so I was like, I just want to be able to do this myself. And so I was like, hey, like, I know what not to do and what to do. And therefore, like, I'm happy to just give you the curriculum that I used for myself, like that I was using nights and weekends. And I just kept track of everything that I was using. And he was like, dude, this is like legit, like, this is like a programming school curriculum. And I was like, yeah, I guess. And then he was like, what do you think about starting, a code school in Austin? Like, this is, I guess, 7-8 years ago now, when at the time he was like, Austin's, it's booming, and now it's booming 10x.
Yeah,
but
it's crazy.
He was like, yeah, like Austin's not known for tech yet, but I think it's going to be. And therefore, like, we should start something here. And I was like, cool, dude, like I'm happy to help you, but I got this other thing going on. And so he actually put everything together and like got
That's
it to the point where he was like, all right, man, like we're doing this, like you want in or out? And I was like, all right, let me come out there for a weekend and like, jam with you guys on this. And came for the weekend, launched a website that weekend. And even just in that weekend, people started applying. And so like the boulder kind of started rolling downhill. And that weekend stay turned into a week-long stay, which turned into a month-long stay, which just ended up being for staying there for a while.
That's awesome.
So anyway, that's kind of how I got into it. I got into it, just by nature of helping a buddy make sure he does it right. But then I got excited about it myself. And my whole thing was like, I want to do it right. Like anything I want to do it right. And the version of doing it right is like, get people jobs. That's all they care about. Maybe you'll have someone in the class, the minority of the class population is not looking for a job. But let's be real. Like even people going to college, they're looking for a job.
Yeah, right.
And so like we were like, let's do it right. Let's make sure that we like, as much as we can take it upon ourselves to make sure everyone gets a job.
Yeah.
Which was novel at the time.
Yeah, that's so funny because now it's a whole thing. And I even remember at the time for myself, no one knew what a coding bootcamp was for good and for bad, like they didn't have any of the negative connotations that come with that or any of the positive ones either. I mean, how did you all, because, throughout that time period, you probably didn't come up against it as much, but how long until you, well, I guess I should first ask you, how long until you sold to Hack Reactor? What was that?
It was like, I want to say a year, maybe even less. The crazy thing is we did not realize that we were starting a business, to be totally honest. We were like, this sounds awesome. This is going to be fun. This is going to help a lot of people. We think we can pull it off. Let's try it.
Yeah.
So like when it started working, we frankly felt like we just fell backwards into running a business when all we were trying to do is like kind of run a school. And in hindsight, like a school is obviously a business. We just didn't think about it that way until someone other than Hack Reactor, I think it was like, I might be getting this wrong, like University of Phoenix or I think it was University of Phoenix. They came along and they were like, hey, we want to buy you guys. And we're like, what are you talking about? Like, we're just running a school here. But then like we quickly, slapped ourselves in the face and we're like, wait a minute, this is a business. Like, let's think about this as business. And like, it was only then that we were like, would we want to sell to University of Phoenix? And we were like, hell no. Like, we wouldn't feel very proud of that. They had a really shitty reputation for outcomes. And so we were like, well, who would we feel proud of working with? And so we had gotten to know the Hack Reactor guys from a trip to the White House together, actually, when awesome. The White House brought a bunch of schools together.
I remember that.
Yeah, and we were like looking around the room, and it was so funny. We kept talking. We actually brought a student with us, a graduate, an alum. You remembering his name?
No, well, tell me which. I remember the pictures of. Was it Silas?
No, it wasn't Silas. Oh my God! Of course, I'm blanking now. I see his face. I literally know him.
Nick?
No.
Okay, because I remember like all the. I think I can remember everyone.
Cohort 1.
3 cohorts, but.
Oh, God. Anyway, we brought him along because we were like, this is all about outcomes. Like, we want to, showcase a voice of an actual graduate. And we got there and like everyone around the table was talking about everything other than student outcomes. And we were like, are we in like a Twilight Zone world?
Wow.
And everybody except for Hack Reactor. It was basically us and Hack Reactor that were like trying to talk about outcomes because that's the whole point. And so we got to know them at that time and we were like, wait, we think alike. This is cool. All right, see you later. So we reached out to them after University of Phoenix reached out and we were like, hey, would you guys want to buy us instead? Just like beat the University of Phoenix offer and, we'll take it. And they're like, yeah, sure. So that's how that happened.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay. A couple questions on that. One, CIRR, did it exist yet?
No.
At that time? Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. There's something else that existed before that. It was a different name for it, but yeah, we had started that together after the White House call.
Okay. With Hack Reactor.
Yeah.
And Skills Fund was part of that too, right?
Yeah, there was also, I mean, there's other code schools that were kind
Okay.
of, we got everyone together, and once again, it was like us and Hack Reactor on the same page of like,
Yeah.
yep, let's have a mutual way of reporting outcomes, and everybody else was like, I don't know, and so that kind of fizzled. Um, this is a precursor
Yeah.
to CIRR, but yeah, again, so that was like another place where we were like, these guys are great. They thought we were great, and so we were just like, why not?
So, I mean, I want to keep on going down this timeline of what happened next,
Sure.
but I mean, it seems like an obvious question to me of how come y'all cared about outcomes so much? But I think the scarier question is, why do you think there were so many who didn't care about outcomes? I mean, what? And I think that's probably still like an important question to answer
Well,
today.
because I think it's easy to lose sight of it because it comes so far after,
Yeah.
the phase of being a customer. Let's say, like if you think about it as a business, like
Yeah. Right.
you get a customer, they pay, they go through the program. By the time they're finished with the program, you're already talking to another set of customers.
Delivered your service.
Exactly. And like it's easy to be like, oh, we didn't actually deliver the service until they got a job. I'm sorry, it's easy to forget that.
Right.
But for us, like our end goal, just from a mindset, we would actually like. I remember this is so dumb in hindsight, but like we would actually forget to respond to incoming applications after the first cohort because we were also focused on getting them jobs.
Yeah.
And so like in our minds, our end goal wasn't until everybody had a job. It wasn't like graduation.
Right. Yeah. No. I think lately there's been a lot of stuff around, and I'll just say it, like Lambda School, and
Mm-hmm.
how they've sort of fudged. I mean, I think I had a LinkedIn thread going recently with, and one of the guys I'm friends with here, he was an early days Iron Yard instructor. He
Oh yeah,
helped build a curriculum for codeschool.com. I don't know if you remember codeschool.com with all
yeah, I do.
the cool jingles they had.
Yeah,
He built the Angular curriculum, but he was talking about how this idea of when code schools start to see the students as the customer, then it can get pretty ugly because
yeah,
you start to just focus on this first part, which is getting them in, marketing, payment, etc. But the the goal is like the outcome, right? The outcome that, and I've got a lot of questions. We talked about this a little bit before we started
yeah,
recording, but I've had a lot of questions from friends being like, you don't charge people to hire students because in a lot of ways, like the customer really is the industry, right? Because
yeah,
we're helping solve two problems simultaneously. Like one, folks are underemployed or unhappy, but then the industry is desperate for new developers.
yeah,
Okay, so Hack Reactor, which is, by the way, it's funny that y'all approached them. I don't think I would have guessed
yeah.
that in this scenario. What made y'all want to, I guess, sell? I mean, was it just things were getting complicated and you needed some help? I mean, what motivated that?
There were two things. One was like, first of all, it was all of our first real jobs or like
Yeah,
businesses. So like we were all like poor as shit.
yeah,
Like, frankly, like $0 in the bank account type thing. And
yeah,
so here we were running a business that was I don't know, was doing million or something a year in revenue or something like that. Um, and we had this company come by and was like, we want to buy you guys, and we're like, whoa, dollars in our pocket, like that'd be cool. But also like we're not done with this. Like
yeah.
it doesn't feel like we're done here. And if we sold the University of Phoenix, we probably would have been like, we're done.
You would have wanted to run, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And so part of it was like we had this bug in our brain of like, oh, like it's possible to make some money here, and that was cool. And so we are like, well, wait, if we, maybe we can structure something where like we make some money now because all of us have $0, and then we keep working on this and have an opportunity to keep building. And so that was that was the gist of it. And we knew that like if we wanted to expand the thing into multiple locations, multiple places like that, like we were all so green because it was like literally our first thing that we did. It felt nice to work on it with other people who had done stuff before.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
I guess it was a little bit two-parted, but the thing that kicked it off was like planting the bug in our head of, oh, you guys could make some money here.
Yeah. That's good to know. It's comforting because, you know, it seems from the outside that you had a master plan, but it's nice to know that along the way you did.
Dude, I think the only person who has a master plan on this planet is Elon Musk. Every other business builder has no idea what the hell they're doing.
That's so true. That's so true. Okay, so you sold to Hack Reactor, and then you ended up being CEO at some point. How long did that transition take, and like what led to that?
Yeah, so I think by nature of me starting off as a teacher, I guess I shouldn't say MakerSquare is the first thing that we did. I was a teacher for 2 years. Still, I think I had next to $0 in my bank account because teachers are grossly underpaid.
Yeah.
But anyway, like being a teacher taught me a bunch of leadership skills right away, like running a classroom of 30 some students and then managing a constituency of, you know, your fellow teachers, your administrators, and the kids' parents and the kids themselves. Like all of those things is basically like being a CEO. And you're trying to achieve one goal by a certain amount of time. Like it's all very CEO-y. I think all teachers would be really good CEOs, to be honest.
That's so funny.
And so I think I naturally was decent at it. I wouldn't say good. I think I'm better now, but at the time I think I was naturally decent at it. Decent and still better than I think most other people, just because I was a teacher before. And simultaneously, Tony from Hack Reactor had been grinding for 3 years or something and was approaching a state of burnout.
Yeah.
And so he was like, hey man, like, can you take over for me for some amount of time so I can like go focus on my health? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so I took over as COO and basically adopted almost all of his direct reports. And then after a little bit of time, it was going well. So, and he was like, I think I need to take additional time off. Like, can you do it longer term? And I was like, sure. Because again, I wasn't done. I didn't feel like I was like, I wasn't done. And so I think it was just the nature of like, I was decent at it. Tony needed some help. And half the staff already knew me anyway from MakerSquare. And the other half I had worked with as COO. So it was a very natural transition.
Yeah. And then, so I'm probably asking questions that are more for me than our listeners.
The audience. I know. So it's fun. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this is super interesting for other bootcamp founders. But like, I don't know how much other people give a shit.
I'll get off this in a moment. But were you coding? Because I remember you had a hand in the curriculum early on for MakerSquare.
Yeah.
At what point, or I mean, I'm assuming there's a point that came where you stopped messing with the curriculum. I mean, do you still code? I mean, what's your own coding journey? Okay.
Hardly. I know enough to be dangerous, which probably makes me an extremely annoying manager. You know what I mean? Like, I could my coding skills right now, I could probably pass an interview and get a job, and then a month later they'd be like, you don't know anything, like we're firing you. Because I understand so many conceptual aspects of programming, like all the way from like, to the metal, like super low level, all the way to like, libraries and frameworks and everything in between. I understand it. And so I think I can talk to it a lot, but I haven't written any meaningful code in, almost a decade now.
Yeah. Well, I love that because I mean, I felt the exact same way. I had one programming job, the one that I got after MakerSquare, and then I started code schools. And I think I'm really great at writing curriculum. But if you ask me to do something that takes experience, I think it'd be sad, So it's still in my back pocket that if everything else fails, I can get a programming job, but I'm gonna have to bust it to prove myself at all.
Yeah. So even like right now for this new project that I'm working on, someone else is Gilbert. You know Gilbert.
Oh
Gilbert's
yeah, Gilbert
Gilbert's
JS.
exactly. Gilbert's writing the curriculum, but even still, like I'll review it and I'll be like, oh, like we should add XYZ thing because it's going to make it easier to understand. So like that's the level of involvement I have on the curriculum. I could not write it from scratch like Gilbert does, though.
Yeah, he was great. A lot of things that I know about teaching JavaScript come from
Gilbert. He's the man.
His diagrams.
Yeah.
And then I eventually leveled up by learning what was behind his diagrams from Kyle Simpson, but I still couldn't find his diagrams anywhere else. I was like, maybe Gilbert came up with this. I don't know. His whole left-hand side, right-hand side, the way the engine points to things. And I remember his teaching about closures specifically. He would draw the little cloud. So if you look at our curriculum, there's clouds.
That's awesome.
All right, I'm gonna fast forward to Hacker DAO here in a minute. But okay, so then from Hack Reactor then to Galvanize, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which Galvanize, even at the time that they bought Hack Reactor, was already pretty massive, and they had opened up like a whole location in Austin. Tell me a little bit about that, how that happened.
So actually, it's kind of similar to our story with MakerSquare, where like we didn't have any money and we felt like it would be nice to have some. Same with the Hack Reactor founders, like before Hack Reactor,
grinding for years,
and guaranteed, many of the employees at Hack Reactor had more dollars in their bank account than founders did.
Sure.
It's just how businesses like work, especially if it's like early on in your career. And so similarly, they were like, man, like it at this point, I think it was like 6, 7, 8 years in or something. I think the general sentiment was, this is awesome. Like Harsh is running this thing. This thing is going, yet what if it fell apart? Like we would all literally have $0. And so there was this general sentiment of like, okay, it'd be nice to have some money. We don't want to sell the whole thing, but it'd be nice to have some money. And at the same time, we were figuring out and charting a path for growth, and we were thinking about going to raise capital. And so we were like, we actually initially approached it as like, hey, we want to raise some capital and cash out a little bit so that, the founders have a little bit of money. And then that turned into people being like, actually, we want to buy you guys like fully. Like, how about that? And so that's kind of how most M&A transactions end up working in the first place. But that's how that. So that was us going to the market, being like, hey, we're going to do a capital raise, and then Galvanize being like one of the many other suitors that said, cool, we want to either fund you guys or buy you guys. And Galvanize, we felt like they had all these co-working spaces everywhere. It would be a natural like fit.
Yeah.
It's like, we're paying for all this real estate. Like we can stop paying for real estate. We can go into this thriving community of co-working locations all across the country. And so that was so it was like, not only is this going to be able to put a little bit of money in the founders' pockets, it's going to accelerate our growth because they already had all this co-working infrastructure everywhere.
Yeah, that's amazing. I remember seeing that, and because I had a few friends had gone through Galvanize before you guys did that transition, and heard great things. So I thought it was a good fit. Okay, so eventually you're CEO of Galvanize. I'm going to fast forward.
Sure.
And then Galvanize gets sold.
Yep.
And at that point, you kind of make your exit, right?
Kind of, yeah. So when I took over as Galvanize CEO, I was thinking about it as like a 2, 3, 4 year long thing, and so was the rest of the team. I brought back Tony. Actually, I was like, Tony, I need your help.
Which, by the way, it's kind of crazy, right? I mean, Galvanize was quite a bit bigger than Hack Reactor.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they make you CEO. I mean, I feel like that's a huge achievement.
Yeah, because I think it's because Hack Reactor was profitable, like it was positive, net cash flow, and Galvanize was not. And so I think the board was like, you clearly know how to run businesses that are profitable. Like, we need you to turn Galvanize into a profitable business.
That's amazing.
And so that was the kind of motivation behind it. So as we charted on that path, like 3 or 4 months in to that path, this company K-12 comes along and says like, hey, we want to move away from just kindergarten through 12th grade education. We're looking for an asset in the space. There's like you guys, there's probably 2 or 3 other people that we're looking at. And immediately I was like, flattered that you're looking at us, but like, don't bother until 2 years from now. Because after having gone through, a few different transactions, I know what it's like. I know what the diligence process is. I like know what the other side is looking for. And I was like, if we start this process 2 months in, you're going to back out because we're not profitable yet. We're losing money. We probably need some more money before we can get to profitability. Like things are messy and not everything is clear. Like I know how this works and you're not going to like it. So like, let's not even bother right now.
Yeah.
And the way I said it was like extremely just honest and transparent. I was like, we're going to be worth a lot more than we are today 2 years from now because we'll have fixed all this stuff. And that's when we want to sell. We don't want to sell right now. If we try to sell right now, we don't have any legs to stand on for trying to command a larger valuation. So it's, why bother? And I literally emailed this to their CEO when he was asking this. And so he was like, wow, thanks for the honesty. Like, I'd still love to learn a little bit more. And I was like, again, flattered, but like, okay, here's what I need your verbal commitment on before we even start a conversation. So I said, you have to buy us for at least this much. You have to do it within 3 months. You have to provide an incentive for the management team to stay after the transaction. You have to provide incentives for the employees that are there right now. I was like, these are all the things that need to happen for us to even start talking. And I was like, if you can give me your word that like, you're not just messing around and like, if you like things, these terms are good with you, then let's have a conversation. And, I also listed, I was like, here's all the skeletons in the closet.
That's awesome.
Cause I was like, again, knowing it, that you're going to find out anyway, and you're just going to waste months. So I just put it all up front.
Yeah.
And I now give that advice to all CEOs going through an M&A process because it's so simple.
Yeah.
So what happened was then he was like, this is awesome. Yes. Like if we end up liking things, we can go to these, we can work on these terms. And then I was like, sweet, nothing to lose. So then they started and, I hadn't told them all the positive things about the business. This entire time I was telling them all the negative things. And so when they started diligence, I think they were like, wait a minute, it's not as bad as you said. And I was like, yeah, that's why I took the job. Like there's good stuff here. Like, but we're going to fix all these things over the next 2 years. And so anyway, we turned it into like a, starting with super low expectations. And then as they did diligence, they just wanted to do it more and more and more. And then they ended up doing the deal.
Someone's going to try to turn this into a sales tactic of
it should. I mean, hey man, if the sales tactic is just be honest, that sounds like a great one. You should, right. Someone should do that.
For sure. So, okay. Did you stay on after y'all ended up selling? Okay. For how long?
So I ended up staying on for a little less than a year.
Okay.
So right after we sold, 2 weeks later, COVID happened.
Yeah.
And that like wrecked the co-working business. Like obviously it's no secret. For about a month, it also put a pause to almost all the business. Like everybody in the world was like, okay, I'm not doing anything. And then a month later, when everyone's like, okay, this thing's here to stay, people started resuming economic activity. But for a month there, it was like, wow, co-working revenue is way down, education revenue is way down, enterprise education revenue is way down. And so it was really scary for like a month. And then we, slowly things started ramping back up. But then my wife and I found out we were having our first kid. And so that's essentially when I was like, okay, I want to go focus on this now instead of building and growing businesses. So that's when I left.
That's awesome. And so what month was that? So it was 2020 when you left.
Yeah. November is when I left. Yeah.
November. Yeah. That seems like it'd be a good timing. When was your son born?
December.
Okay.
So there's probably like 2 weeks between when I left and when he was born. But you never, obviously, as any parent knows, you never know if they're coming on the due date or not. And like as CEO, I didn't want to just like up and leave one day. And so I was like, let's
Right.
plan this thing ahead of time where I'm gone, a couple weeks before the
Yeah.
actual due date, just in case.
Man, that's incredibly admirable, because I can't imagine how difficult the 2020 season must have been as CEO of what y'all highlight, as you said. Galvanize, part of their business model was having these co-working spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I know for our little small code school in Durham, it was hell to try and
Yeah,
figure
dude,
everything out.
for sure. There's
So
no
okay,
sugarcoating it. I think every business, unless you were named Zoom, it was hell
yeah,
for every business.
that's right. Unless you were Zoom or the few others who were doing online stuff. Okay, so thanks for all the background. I know that was kind of a long stretch of timeline, but I wanted to kind of walk through
Yeah.
the different experiences you've had, not only as like being CEO, but living through COVID, being so outcomes oriented, which, I think for our listeners, that this background of you being part of the companies that were sort of initiators of CIRR, which is the
Yep.
Council on Integrity and Results Reporting.
Mm-hmm.
The acronym I wish was different, but
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm gonna blame Sean Drost for that one.
okay, that's good. I'm glad we have a name at least to
Yeah.
blame it on, because every time I tell students that we are part of CIRR, they're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Well, it's the Council on its Integrity and Results Reporting." But I mean, I feel like of all the standards for outcomes, that one has like survived, and I think even we bring up the Lambda School drama of they were once part of CIRR and then they left. Now I get all these emails from Sherry, the CIRR CEO, and I love it. But okay, anyway, all that building up to what you're doing now, which is Web3, right? You're building this incredible Web3 program that's not geared towards folks transitioning into software, but it's geared towards senior developers.
Mm-hmm.
Payment is with Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
You get a token from the DAO. I
Yeah.
mean, what is this voodoo that you're explaining to the world of training the next generation of software engineers? How did this come about? And were you kind of were you sitting on this idea for a while before you left
Not
Galvanize,
at
or
all.
did just
No
this
chance.
come from like holding your baby and being like, you're gonna live in a decentralized world?
It's not that far off, actually. So when I left Galvanize, I literally had nothing on my mind, and that was intentional. Like I wanted to just like let my mind wander and focus on our son and just like relax, because it had been almost a decade since I took more than a week off, and that's what I did. And so I would just let my mind wander and learn whatever I was interested in learning. And I focused that on skiing for a while.
That's
Got
awesome.
really good at it. I know.
Right, living in Denver.
Hashtag blessed life for sure. But like I spent a lot of time skiing. And then once ski season was over, I picked up golfing because I was like, I want to get better at golf. I've been crappy my entire life. Let me just get better. And so I was like so fortunate to be able to focus time on just letting my mind get better at skills. But then I ran across like crypto, and I was like, all right, let me just find out more about this, because obviously I'd heard about crypto, I had held Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I was like, there's got to be something deeper here, right? And so I started going down that rabbit hole, and that's the rabbit hole that my brain just got stuck on. And I found myself literally holding our baby at night because he didn't sleep well in the first 3 months. Outside of in someone's lap, and I would just like read about Web3 and crypto stuff all night, and then I was like, wow, this is the future for sure. So then I was like, what can I build here? Because I want to build something. Like, I'm going to spend the next 5-10 years of my life on Web3 and crypto stuff. Like, but what should I build? And so I got together with actually a Hack Reactor grad or MakerSquare grad, David, who'd been in crypto for a while, and he and I kicked around a bunch of project ideas, and we were like, we can probably get funding for any of these ideas that we were wanting to work on, but eventually we realized that like we're going to need engineers, and so we were like, let's create our own little internal program because we know how to do that for ourselves. Um, and uh, and then as we were working on it, we were like, wait a minute, like every founder we talk to is like they want to steal our talent because we would take senior engineers and just like teach them Web3 and crypto stuff, and then all of a sudden they were like super marketable and valuable to other companies.
Yeah.
And so then we were like, okay, let's create a community owned school. That's what a DAO is. A DAO is essentially like decentralizing the ownership of the thing. So it's basically like let's create a program that is for the ecosystem, run by the
Yeah.
ecosystem, like um, owned by the ecosystem, that that just creates talent for the Web3 world. And so that's when we were like, okay, let's focus on building this. And that's when it turned into like, okay, like this is actually huge. We can turn this into something gigantic. Um, and we can use it as a platform to build everything else we want to build. And so we were like, all right, let's perfect this thing,
Yeah.
this school, and let's give ownership of that school to everybody. And then let's use that school to incubate projects that we want to work on. So that's how it came about.
That's amazing. Okay, so we're gonna dive into this a little bit because, all right, DAO, decentralized
Yeah.
autonomous organization. There's lots of different ways to, which
Hmm.
funny. I mean, you're the first one who told me about it. I
Oh.
just one of my another guy who was in the podcast, the last episode, Brian. He's tickled to death that I've been learning crypto stuff because he's like he was one of the top contributors on Quora for Ethereum knowledge or something.
Oh my God, that's
So,
awesome.
so I've been trying to learn a little bit so I can at least have good conversations with him.
Yeah.
But all right, so how would this work? So you pay for tuition and then you get a token, right, to the DAO. So you basically mint your own tokens on.
Yeah. So the DAO mints tokens, and not a lot of this is built out yet because we're literally just like 2-3 months in.
Yeah.
So this is what's going to happen. We'll mint tokens, and the way that you pay your tuition isn't just like paying tuition. It's like you're actually purchasing tokens, and so you're
Yeah.
owning a piece of the school by nature of paying tuition. And so it's basically a membership into the DAO. You're
Yeah.
contributing dollars into the DAO to become a member of the DAO. And therefore, as the school grows, the value of your tokens may or may not grow. We think they will. And therefore, it's like, it's this concept of like, why not own a piece of the university that you went to?
Right. Right.
It's like tuition is such a transactional thing.
Yep.
That's what establishes a customer relationship. Like, why not be an owner of the school that you go through? And then, like, as an alum, you're not just like helping out of the goodness of your heart. You're helping because you care about like the school doing well. And so there's a very reasonable world where like you quote unquote pay your tuition, buy tokens into the DAO, and those tokens end up being worth more than what you paid for tuition 5 years down the road.
Yeah.
And so that's what, and the DAO portion of things is like all of that capital goes into a shared bank account on the Ethereum blockchain, in a smart contract, and everyone who owns the token votes on what the DAO does. So eventually, it's like maybe there's going to be a proposal where it's like, hey, instead of just teaching Solidity, let's teach Rust,
Yeah.
because Solana ecosystem, the near ecosystem, like a bunch of these different layer one blockchains, you need to use Rust. And then it would come up for a vote. All the token holders would vote. And, whether it passes or not, it would fund X amount of Ethereum or tokens to build a Rust curriculum. And then someone would take ownership of that and start building it. And like, I would have nothing to do with it. It's all a community owned community decisions that are being made.
I love that. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Because, this is kind of a boot camp conversation that we've had a little bit on the podcast before, but and I'm sure that you and I land in different places on this. And who knows? Maybe one day I'll be persuaded. But ISAs, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a side of folks who have made ISAs out to be, well, we're only going to be successful when you're successful. I think the Lambda School story tells the story that I've been wanting other folks to see, which is sort of like the predatory nature of ISAs, potentially, of how like ultimately the stakeholder there is the investor who originally invests in providing the ISAs,
Yep.
potentially, because as a business, you still have to figure out revenue in the meantime, right?
Yeah.
So I love this idea of the token, because I mean, the goal is to continue providing value for the school. And if the school is successful, then it will become more valuable. If the school is not successful, then it won't,
Yeah. I mean, we one of our payment options effectively kind of looks like an ISA, where it's
Yeah.
like pay your tuition into the DAO after you get a job. But it's not really an ISA at all because there's no agreement.
Right.
Like
Yeah, I saw that.
It's basically just like you don't get to enter the DAO until you meet your contribution obligation. And so it's like, sure, you could go through the course, not pay a thing, and you just won't be a part of the DAO community. And so it's basically an incentive fueled ISA, if you want to think about it that way.
Yeah.
And so
have part of the organization. I love that.
yeah.
So, okay, now looking back that you've been on this journey, what do you think the future is for, because right now you're in a space or you're starting to get into the space. I mean, have you had any cohorts yet, by the way? Or have you started anybody?
Yeah, we just started our third cohort 2 days ago.
No freaking way.
Yeah.
All right, pause my question. How's it going?
Fantastic. Like the first cohort is all employed. The second cohort just graduated like a week ago, and they're starting.
So when they come in, they're already employed though, right?
Not all of them.
Not all of
Actually,
them. But
most of them are not. Well,
so they're not.
They're employed in Web 2 land.
Right.
But they're not employed in Web 3 world.
So they're senior level engineers, and they're like, are they like top secret doing the program, and their current employer doesn't know?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some students where like their current employer is actually paying for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
But most people, it's like they want to move to Web 3, and their current employer doesn't know.
That's amazing. So what, how long is the program?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And it's all part-time, I saw, and all that. Okay.
It's part-time, but like, let's be real. It's like, you'd probably be putting in a lot less than full-time at your day job if you were doing this course, because it's like, you're probably putting in 20 to 40 hours a week into this course, even though it's part-time.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. Okay. So the first cohort, they're all transitioned to Web3.
Yeah.
Employed.
It's so cool.
That's amazing. How many, can I ask how many students did you do?
There's only 4 that were looking for a job. So there's 2 that were sponsored by their employer, so they weren't looking for a job. There's 1 that we hired onto staff, and then there are 4 that were looking for a job. And so of those 4, all 4 of them are employed now.
That's cool. That's so cool.
With an average salary of freaking $201,000 a year.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure at some point you'll have a great stat sheet to show salary increase and all that. Do you plan to I mean, is this like even, you could qualify for CIRR, right?
I guess so, but like, it's so detached from that world.
Right. Yeah.
That like, people don't, because like even employment, like post-graduation employment,
right?
There's probably like some of the graduates get paid in tokens, like USD coin, and so like,
that's true.
And if they're working for a DAO, like one of the graduates is working for a DAO, they don't get a W-2, they don't get any sort of documentation that in the traditional world, you collect and say like, okay, cool, like we know for sure you have this.
Yeah.
And so it just doesn't fit that model. And so we're just going to be transparent about the data ourselves.
Yeah.
And like, I
Yeah.
don't know if people, if we're eventually, maybe there's going to be some sort of standards that we use or something like that, but it's also not really like our main business model. And so we're like running the school not for the purposes of building a gigantic school. Like, we're
Yeah.
running the school for the purpose of building cool Web3 stuff. And so we may not even like, 1000x the size of the school.
Yeah.
Like, maybe the school stays the size as it is, and we like create introductory material that brings more engineers into the space. There's just so many options,
Yeah.
and it's not even up to me, because
Right.
I'm just
Yeah.
like a member of the DAO.
Yeah.
And so like, sure, I can like put forth proposals and likely be able to, explain things in a way that people can get behind. But like, I don't get to call the shots myself.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
So, okay, and just the risk proposition is so much different too than traditional boot camp. I mean, I've even
Yeah.
figured out like, so when we started doing online stuff, Parsity is the first time we ever offered like a part-time model.
Yeah.
And we just graduated our first group of part-time students, and the only part-time student that got a job like quickly, I mean, and I'm talking like within 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
was a guy who had already quit his job. Because,
Mm.
and I think a lot of it is the rest of them, they're not in a rush, right? They
Yeah,
want to
they're
find a
chilling.
good spot to land, and it's just such a different environment than, so even like the reporting stuff isn't even as
100%. Part-time is a whole different ballgame.
yeah, they're already employed, so
Yeah.
or they could be if they wanted to, or they were. So if
Yeah.
they take a while, then it's not a big deal, which is amazing, because I think that's, for as a boot camp founder, that's been one of the hardest things to navigate, is like my own consciousness of when people don't do well, because it inevitably happens.
Yeah.
Like it leads to sleepless nights,
For sure.
All right, getting back finally, and we'll land the plane soon here. I appreciate all this time, and
For
part of
sure.
me is just like, I just use this as an excuse to completely explain what you've been doing, because it sounds so exciting.
Yeah, there's so much more
people,
to DAOs and tokenized models and all this stuff. I could go on and on.
What place, now that you're working with like senior devs, when I say
Mhm.
working for the last few months, you've been working with senior devs.
Yeah.
What are the implications to this, to the boot camp model, to junior engineers? I mean, if someone's listening to this and they're first, starting off on their journey, and for me, I'm thinking I want to target those who are excited about technology and programming,
Yeah.
not those who, my cousin went through boot camp and said they could make a lot of money. But
Right.
for those folks who are wanting to get into this, like, what kind of encouragement would you offer as like a pathway to like a Web3 job that doesn't require them to go
Mhm.
5 to 8 years in Web2 world?
You don't need to go 5 to 8 years in Web 2 world. You do need to do some in Web 2 world, because Web 3 world is not yet built out in such a way that a beginner programmer could just pick it up and start doing stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, exceptional beginner programmers could probably do that, but most
Yeah.
people, it's not built for that yet. And so, you do want to start learning programming in general, because all it is programming at the end of the day. But you want to learn programming. You probably do want to go get a job as a professional programmer in some capacity. But the coolest part about Web3 is that you can pick up projects for DAOs, and learn stuff and get paid to do that. Like, they just have, say we're a DAO, like we had a project that needs done. We just publish it and we say, we're going to give out this many tokens for whoever completes it. And you could pick up some of the easy ones if you're a beginner programmer, and like start learning that way and get paid to do it. So there's a place called Gitcoin, for example, where you can hop on and see all the different projects that different people have put up saying, hey, we need this done, we're going to pay this many tokens, and you can just do it. And if you do that, you get on the radar of the DAO members, and then they're like, oh sweet, like someone that's excited about the work we're doing and
Yeah.
is contributing, let's give them another bounty. And then you do another bounty, 3 bounties later, like you find yourself already getting paid a salary.
Yeah.
and you're in Web3 world before you even know it.
It's
So
incredible.
I think it's, you still got to learn programming at the end of the day. And so, um, frankly, I still think there's no better way than to go to a code school, learn
Yeah.
programming, and then focus that energy towards Web3 if you're interested in it.
Cool. That's what I wanted to hear.
I believe it.
Last question, and I think I could probably go through 30 of these just
Sure.
based off your perspective. I'd love to hear this. There's so much, I don't want to call it misinformation, but myths in the code school world.
Mhm.
What do you think about this idea that there are too many juniors and not enough junior positions?
Um, hmm. I don't know if that's true. I also don't know if it's not true. I have no idea. But I do know that companies want talent. And if I was a company, I would just, if the junior engineers weren't good enough for me to hire, I would make a training program internally, like
Yeah.
a month long. All right, let's turn the juniors into mid level, let's say.
Yeah.
But you can't have this dichotomy where companies are like, we need engineers, and also, oh, but not like this type of engineer.
Right.
Like, yeah, at the end of the day, like you got to bridge the gap, and if the employer needs engineers badly enough, like they should just create onboarding programs that onboard devs, or go pay more to steal a mid-level or senior dev from somewhere else. But that's like not growing the pie.
Right.
That's a zero-sum game. Whereas onboarding new engineers and educating them even more than what you feel like they know is not a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
And they don't know what they're talking about. Like, if you bring on a junior dev, I guarantee in 2 months they're gonna be like, "Oh, wait a minute, you're not actually junior,"
Yeah.
but you just think that it's stupid, uh, because the interview process doesn't assess how good of an engineer they are,
Right.
and so it's a rambly way, but I just don't think that if that's the case, like, um, companies aren't doing it right, because it's not like they don't have any engineering positions. Like, they
Yeah.
have tons of engineering positions open. Um, so do something about it.
Yeah. I love that. I think I've been like the rise of, I've been talking to a few folks at BetterUp, who, and there's just companies like that that are popping up, right? Companies that we have what is it? Everyone quitting their jobs, right? What do they call
Yeah.
it? The great,
The great resignation.
resignation. That's it. The resignation. And so companies are trying to experiment with how do we invest in our employees, which is great. Finally, thank you.
Yeah.
To prevent them from leaving. And ironically, this hasn't yet gotten to the software engineering space where, you could do the same thing, which is invest in your developers, and maybe they wouldn't leave you to go get a higher paying job later if you were to
For sure.
show them that this is a great place to start. So no, I love that. I think that's just a myth that there are too many juniors and not enough junior positions. There's just not enough people who are willing to farm instead of mine.
Yeah.
All right, very last question. I'll let you go to Harsh. I appreciate the time.
Sure.
If you were going, and I always ask this question in every podcast, what's your kind of biggest piece of advice to beginners who are no doubt in this situation of struggle and frustration and always questioning, is this for me? How do I get to the next level? What kind of advice
Oh
do you
man,
give?
you just got to keep learning. Like, put your head down and just keep learning. It's inevitable. Like, programming is such a accessible skill set. Like, no one can stop you from programming, uh, and like getting better at it. So, and there's so many resources. So like, I can see, or I can understand when devs can get like disheartened.
Yeah.
Um, but at the end of the day, it really is just that. It's like you get demotivated. It's not like you're not able to do this. It's like you get demotivated because you hear no so many times, or you like, you know, you gotta keep your head up and like just keep going. It's like such a, yeah. The better you get at programming, the more desirable you are. And so
Yep.
if you stop for sure, that's like the death. What's the phrase? Like, it's not coming to me, but like the moment you stop and you get demotivated, like that's what's going to stop you. It's not going to be your skill sets.
There are no failures, only quitters.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool, man. Would you like to plug HackerDAO anyway? Is there websites and places you want to send people?
Sure. HackerDAO.xyz.
HackerDAO.xyz. Okay, cool. We're going to put that in the show notes. Harsh, good to see you as always. I'm sure going to be bugging you more. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's fun to catch up. At some point, I need to put on my ski boots and
please.
What's your favorite mountain?
Probably Copper Mountain.
Okay, cool. I've been to all of them at some point. It's just been a long time.
Yeah.
Like Breckenridge was like our family place.
You and 10 million other families.
No, I know it's nutty.
It's nutty, dude. It's nutty. It's like it's hard to find like open areas now at Breck.
Yeah.
And so, it's beneficial for all the other mountains, but Copper's my favorite, like by far.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
All right, Harsh. Thanks, man. Have a good rest of your Wednesday.
Oh yeah. You too, man. Good to see you.
All right. See you, brother.
That does it for today's episode of the Develop Yourself podcast. To learn more about our online code school Parsity, visit us at parsity.io. It's PARSITY.io.